up, guys? So it seems like Forcible beat me to the Primogenitor before I could do my speculation video on it. I thought they were going to go in the order of the inserts, so I did Kaguya first and then the unknown guy with the book that we don't know. And I was really expecting him to do Primogenitor last because that's how it is for the inserts in a little article that they posted. But it seems like they just kind of YOLO'd it and put him out there anyway. So I'm kind of gonna do like a review and kind of mention what my speculation was, I guess, because I don't want to have like missed out the chance anyway. But I was completely wrong. Like everyone else, I thought he was going to be like a 12 Apostle ruler. I did start feeling kind of skeptical in my last video. I mentioned that I wasn't so sure that was gonna happen anymore because Jordan kind of mentioned that like it could be one of those like kind of just lore things where it's just like, you know, he commands them, but it's not like, you know, he's directly related to them. I kind of mentioned how Kaguya and Were-Rabbits are always kind of linked together, but she doesn't particularly like have anything to do with them like effect-wise. So I thought that was just kind of interesting, and I was really sure about it though because I felt like it would be cool to make the 12 Apostles more playable, but I guess that's not going to be a thing unless it is in one of the other rulers we don't know. But for the Primogenitor, I actually think it's extremely healthy for the game. I think it's something we need. I think people are completely overreacting, and I don't want. I feel like I'm gonna get all the like kind of people are gonna attack me for it and be like, oh, you don't know anything, and you know you're wrong, and it's toxic, and all these decks are unplayable and reflex unplayable. But I think that going back to a format where Regalia aren't so free is, I just feel like it's better. I feel like if somebody's playing Primogenitor and they have the blanket effect, for anyone that doesn't know what it does, on the ruler side, it's your opponent has to pay one more for their void abilities, for, one more to activate Regalia's. You play one more void to activate Regalia. Sorry, I like blanked out there for a second. I was like looking at these moons and like completely just like kind of in awe, but because this is going to be relevant sometime soon. But so it's essentially Barrier of Shadows without the Judgment increase cost 2. So all your Regalias will cost you 1 more to tap and use any of the activates for. And people are freaking out saying that, you know, it's not fair because he stops like Valentina 2.0 and he Reflect got an errata and now he can't even use Change the World easily because he has to pay 1. But the thing is that as far as the reflect thing, I kind of feel like they probably worked on this set on the Alice cluster as a whole, is what also people don't tend to understand. Like these sets are pre-made way before that they show it to us. It's possible that in their minds, you know, they're looking at the whole thing and they're thinking, oh, we have Leviathan and then we have Deathside to counter it. We have Reflect, but we have Primogenitor to counter it. And I guess they didn't think people would take these 3 months of this new format with Reflect so harshly and it would make such an impact, so that they wanted to kind of take action and errata it as well. But as I said, like the Primogenitor is totally fine in a matchup against Reflex. So I personally wouldn't mind if they were to errata it back to the way it is now. But I feel like it might kind of look sloppy on their part, so I don't know if they're going to do that. But with the Primogenitor as a card, I would totally be fine with Reflect having, you know, the effects he has now, because Change the World would just be so much harder to use, and there just seems to be a lot more control and more Regalia hate next format anyway. The spell card he has is called Space-Time Collapse. It lets you destroy a Resonator and a Regalia if your J-Ruler is Primogenitor, and I think that's absolutely amazing. It's like a Hera that doesn't make you plus as hard, because Hera's like a +2, but it's still a good, like, you're using 1 spell and destroying 2 things, so you're still plussing 1 at least. The Pitch Black Moon, it reminded me of this one. That's actually why this is here. I have these moons here because moons are just going to be relevant. This Moonshade, I think, if I was you, I'd pick up the Moonshades now. I just feel like the Moonshades are most likely going to be going up in price because MPR is kind of an older set, and a lot of cards from there have been going up, so it's quite possible that it'll go up, as Kaguya can use this and so can Primogenitor. And then these aren't particularly for him, but I just kind of like the relevance of Moon. I thought it was something I probably should bring up. And then we're getting a Pitch Black Moon, and this is just, of course, Black Moon. And so when Primogenitor enters the field, he puts Pitch Black Moon into the field. It's a field edition that gives your Darkness J Ruler +2/+2, and you can pay 1 Moon and I believe 1 colorless to target a card in your graveyard and add it to your hand, and it doesn't have like a banish cost or anything. My only problem with it is I would never want to really use more than one of that card, and on the off chance you draw it before you deactivate, it's going to be a really big bummer. I'm not sure if the +2/+2 is like relevant enough to make me want to risk that chance when I can keep my deck as consistent as possible. Unless you maybe can like play blue and have like Cheshires or something and then, just stack it away. But I don't think it's going to be easy to afford the blue when you need to have his Memoria, which is the Moon and Black Memoria. So we'll see how the format changes, but that's my only worry for that card. The recycling effect seems good, but we haven't really had a lot of recycling enforceable before. We don't really interact with their graveyard outside of some like reanimate cards, so I'm not sure if it's completely necessary, but we could see more cards in the set that would make it necessary. There's another card called Call of the Primogenitor, and it's a 1 black instant, and I didn't realize this at first. If anyone read my Facebook post, I kind of did like a thoughts on all the new cards on there, and I didn't notice this card was an instant, but it's a 1 black instant that targets a card in your graveyard and adds it to your hand, a Resonator, and then you can awaken it by playing a Moon and a colorless to add any Darkness Resonator from your deck to your hand also, on top of the fact that you have something from your graveyard. The fact that that's an instant is actually completely insane, and I completely go back on what I said. That card is going to be great. Like searching any card in your deck and recycling something. If you're playing Cthulhu's, you could like return a Yogg from your graveyard to your hand and search like a Mozart or something, or like a Rasputin. And then if you have like a Little Red and Granny, you can just like dump both of them on the field and go into Yogg. And just so many crazy combos that are possible that I think is actually really exciting. I'm really excited for that card. So there was the Pitch Mail Moon, the Primogenitor. Also, for the Primogenitor's kind of J-Ruler breakdown. So it's when he enters, he puts Pitch Black Moon into the field. He's a 12/12, which I think is too big of a body, I would say. I would have been a lot happier with him being a 10/10, because then you could at least argue that if you have like Goose Blessed and Flame, it's enough, or Dark Alice and Flame, which like, because he can counter activates anyway, so like the Goose Blessed thing is counterable, and so I don't see why that wouldn't have been like fine. He pays 1 Moon to stop activate effects, which I think is actually fine. I'm not sure if it's going to end up being too strong, because in his deck it's going to be a lot harder to have the Moon up than it is for other, like for Kaguya, because Kaguya also mana fixes, so she can use Moonlight as well and just have like a whole field of Moon. But he's going to have it in his Memoria, and then if he uses Memoria and these, I think it's going to be like too much life loss, and he's going to be like in split range, which is going to be a problem as well. And then a lot of people are saying that his like Regalia can fix the whole Moon thing, but I don't know if this is just me and if I'm just being kind of like telegraphing too much forward and just kind of anticipating too much, but I really don't think people should be running Regalia's next format, depending on what the other 3 rulers are and what other cards are released, of course. I don't want to just like make that comment and just kind of not have anything to back it up, but from what we know right now, it's most likely going to be a very Primogenitor heavy format. Once again, from what we know, absolutely just right now, the other rulers can completely change that, the other cards in the set can completely change that. But as of right now, that's what it seems like. And I feel like if you flip your ruler and they flip their ruler and you've mulliganed into your like Regalias and like a 1-drop, and they don't run the Regalia and they have like a consistent hand, like your Regalias are dead because he's just making it so that it's so much harder for you to use them. And sure, they're more live like endgame, because if the Primogenitor deactivates, you're no longer restricted on your Regalia use. But it just seems like why, like, it's almost gimmicky to me. Like, I don't feel like the Regalia taps to produce Moon, and you can use it for the Judgment cost and the Judgment cost and and the activate effects of your J Ruler if it's Primogenitor, or just in general. The Judgment cost I think is for Primogenitor, but the activate effect is also for stuff like Kaguya. It's worded really weirdly, but so if you play against the Primogenitor and you have to tap your Regalia to produce Moon, but you now also have to pay 1 Void, that's too, like you're not making up for the mana you're floating unless you're specifically trying to float Moon, but it still kind of makes it really hard to use. And then it's like a dead card on the field because it doesn't net you any advantage. You're just sitting there like restricted while they're playing freely if they don't use the Regalia. And then like people were saying, if you just drop 2 of them and deactivate as soon as possible, you get Primogenitor on the field, he's a big body, but there's just so much to stop it, and he's not going to have enough stones to be like continuously being able to use the negate activate effect anyway. Not to mention that you know, like the Primogenitor mirror stops that anyway. I don't know. I don't like the Regalia. I think it's not so great. I would side it because I think it's definitely a great side card. If you put it against like a for sure Kaguya matchup, or if somebody tries to side in Blazer against you, and you have that because the last effect is to tap it to flip back into your ruler form so you can escape like a Blazer, like kind of like how Reflect does. I think it's a great card in the side. I think like if your opponent isn't playing Primogenitor, that Regalia is incredible. I don't want anyone to like misunderstand me and think I think it's a bad card. I just think it's gonna be bad in the meta. It's kind of like, I don't know. It's like you're feeding into your opponent's trap for no reason. It doesn't make sense to do that when you can much rather play cards that are going to further your game state and get you to the end game where you'll have the stones to negate everything and deactivate anyway. So that was the second effect. It's to negate activates. And then the last effect is his God Art, which I also am kind of not too proud of. A lot of people think it's completely insane, but it's essentially pay 5. I think it's Black Moon and 3 to you look through your opponent's deck and you take a Regalia, a Field Edition, and a monster, and you put it into your field. And everyone's saying, oh my god, you pay 5, this is total power creep, like you steal 3 cards. But like essentially it's not stealing 3 cards, because like I said, if I'm playing, let's say if I make a Primogenitor deck and I don't use Pitch Pale Moon because Pitch Black Moon because like I said, it might be dead in your hand, and I don't use Regalias because I know I'm playing against the Primogenitor matchup, and that's what the meta is going to be. So I have no Field Editions in my deck, and I have no Regalias because I know it's going to be countered. If they pay 5, they're taking a Resonator out of my deck. Even if my best Resonator is something like Menestopheles, for example, which hasn't been seeing much play anyway. If that's my best Resonator in my deck and you take it at the cost of 5, I'm like totally fine with that because you could have just dropped your own for 4. It like, if you don't play the Regalia and the Field Edition and you don't feed into what the meta is going to be, you should be totally fine and able to like counter it. If they're paying 5 to do that play, and it's not even like something with swiftness. Like if you have like a Susanoo and they steal that and just swing at you with 12 and Pierce, now that's pretty scary. But if you kind of build against knowing what's going to be the meta, I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem. So that's kind of my thoughts just on the Primogenitor as the ruler himself. It's still absolutely incredible. Like I said, like if you play it in an anti-meta way, from what we know as of right now, I think it's going to be absolutely great. I can't even decide between Kaguya and him anymore because I feel like everyone's going to be playing his Regalia, and I want to be the guy to have the Primogenitor with no Regalia and kind of just counter them and be able to win that way, rather than play Kaguya and expect them not to play the Regalia, because I feel like it's a bad meta call, but they're just going to YOLO it and play it anyway, and it's going to be just kind of frustrating because it's helping them instead of, you know, them being able to see that I don't think it's possibly the best call you can make right now. But we'll see what the meta ends up being once all the cards are released. So that's kind of just that. And then I believe there was one more card. Let me see. There's the Pitch Moon, the Primogenitor, Call of Primogenitor. Oh, the Witch. Okay, so there was a 1-drop black, like this Witch, and she's 0 and 800. And for 1 moon, she can make a Resonator your opponent controls lose 200 attack. A lot of people think it's a great wall for turn 1 because black has had some trouble with aggro, but I'd much rather in a deck like Primogenitor use a card like Soul Hunt, which is gonna just remove the card that I'm like. Let's say if they go Ruke Cthulhu, attack you with Cthulhu, and now it's your turn. If you just Soul Hunt right away, discard a card, and you don't have to tribute anything because you don't have a Resonator, they have to get rid of their Cthulhu and discard a card. Instead of having that Witch that's gonna block the next Lancelot or the next Cthulhu or whatever anyway, you just remove the card, and then if you discard a Resonator, it's not so big of a deal because if you use Call of Primogenitor any time during the game, you can return the card you discarded plus be able to grab one from your deck. So I feel like since he does have access to like recycling stuff from the grave, it doesn't really make it as big of a deal to discard stuff. And Soul Hunt just seems like such a better turn 1 play than the Witch does, in my opinion. I feel like she's kind of gimmicky, but it is pretty good if you start off first and you set it up and you just don't take the damage in the first place, so that's always good as well. But once again, we'll see. Jordan did mention that red in this format isn't going to play the way it's always played, so I'm not anticipating a lot of burn and swiftness from red this time. I think it's actually going to be really, really big beaters that probably work with the ruler somehow. And it would kind of be this argument that if they have like big beaters with like target attack and something like that, they can beat over like Kaguya, who can gain these counters and gain more attack and defense. They can beat over Primogenitor, even though he's like a 12-12, possible 14-14 with the Pitch Black Moon and all this kind of sense. So that could kind of be the argument of how you can overpower these kind of really great rulers. But we're gonna have to wait and see. I want to definitely hear what you guys have to say, what you guys feel about Moon coming back in general. I typically actually really like this because I don't think they paid enough attention to Moon and gave it enough support. So I would have much rather them support this than introduce a new element or something and kind of just like have all these like not completed colors and stuff, you know. I hope that makes sense. Like, instead of kind of just, you know, trying this out, it didn't work and just forgetting about it, just kind of focus on it a little bit more, kind of ripen the idea, and then whenever it feels like fine and solid, then you'll move on to the next thing. So I like the addition of moons. I like that all of this is kind of coming back, not particularly these cards, but this might see play with Campanella. I'm like literally raving Campanella so much. Like, everyone knows I love that card. And I just hope it's going to be good. I hope we get another moon that she can target. But there's some pretty crazy plays I've already been thinking of that you can do. But let me know what you guys think. If you guys disagree with any of my ideas, I definitely like to hear it. I don't want this to be kind of like a flame war. I'm totally open to hearing people's opinion out. When somebody pointed out that Call of Primogenitor was instant, I instantly was like, oh man, like, sorry. You know, I'm not one to be like some crazy elitist who thinks my ideas are like the best. So I definitely want to hear what you guys have to say. If you can convince me on certain cards, I'd love it. If I can convince you on some of these cards and some of my ideas, that would be great too. And then we'll see once the sets drop more. And if you guys haven't subscribed yet and you want to see more kind of discussion videos like this and more speculations and whatnot, definitely subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time.